Hello folks, and welcome to From the Writing Desk, the show where we write drunk, edit drunk, and most certainly submit drunk. Now, all jokes aside, be sure to drink within the legal limits of your province or country, as well as within your own physical and mental capabilities at the time. And additionally, make sure that your consumption does not put any others at risk. So today, for the inaugural episode of our show, we're going to make some classic cocktails. Now, I don't mean classic in the sense of a nice classy Cosmo or a dry martini shaken not stirred. I mean in the sense of classic authors and cocktails inspired by them. These cocktails are going to be by the authors who wrote those books you were forced to read in high school, or the ones that are constantly mentioned in your writing class and you just nod like you completely understand what's going on and being talked about. So our first cocktail today is going to be the Cormac McCarthy, a more modern author, but definitely one that's had an influence on modern writing. You've certainly been forced to read either The Road or No Country for Old Men in high school, and if you weren't, I'm very jealous because I had to read The Road 3 times throughout my public education, and each time emotionally scarred me more than the last. Luckily for this drink, you don't need any kind of fancy shaker. All you're going to need is your glass, in this case, a mason jar, because I am that kind of person, as well as your measuring utensils. So you can use a standard shot glass, or you can use one that has different measurements. This is the 1/2 ounce, this is the 1 ounce, 2 ounce, so on and so forth. And yes, mine is from medieval times. No sponsorship, because no one follows my channel and this show barely exists. No sponsorship. Again, I'm just that kind of person. So, this drink starts off with 2 shots of bourbon. That's it's a very southern drink, which is where Cormac McCarthy spends most of his time. And it's got a bit of a sweet but a bite to it. So the beauty of his prose mixed with the trauma that is in the writing itself. So, 2 shots of that. In that case, we're filling it up to the lady in waiting on mine. Pour that in. So, next up we're going to use some lemon juice. We're going to take 0.5 ounces or a 1/2 shot of that and add that to our drink. It'll add a nice contrast to the kind of smooth sweetness of the bourbon, as well as we're going to be adding peach juice later, so it'll be a great contrast. Additionally, it also reminds me of the sudden sour bite of Cormac's work when you get too far in, you're dedicated, and the horror hits you. So, there's our 0.5 ounces. Add that in. And last but not least, we're going to add peach juice to fill and then stir to make sure all the ingredients are well mixed. Now, some of you might be wondering why I don't This would be a very, very strong drink if we left it like this. So, I'm going to run to the grocery store and I'll be back shortly. I'm back. I have more cheap peach juice. So now we can finish this drink and not kill anyone. So, a lot of people might be wondering why I don't choose something a bit more manly for the guy who wrote No Country for Old Men. Something like a bourbon mojito, or maybe a nice old G&T, something along those lines. Well, the truth is, because I'm the one making these drinks, and I have to serve them to people I know. Otherwise, it's a huge waste of time. So, the reason I'm making a lot of sweeter drinks is because I'm a university student, and all the people I can pawn these drinks off on really like sweet stuff and will scowl at me if I try to hand them anything that tastes like real liquor. So, we're going to stir this together, cover up the horrible bitterness that is evident in Cormac McCarthy's work, that trauma that will stick with you ever since you've left high school. But we're going to keep stirring so it's all hidden away under this lovely cover of peach and a cute mason jar. So, that's all done. And there you go, you got the Cormac McCarthy. Next up, we're going to learn how to mix Chekhov's gun, which is another term you've probably heard about and an author you most certainly have heard about, but have never really bothered to read any of his stuff because it's Russian, and sometimes Russian writing is weird. And I would like to clarify that this is Chekhov, not Tchaikovsky, which I have also confused him with. They need more names. At least the famous ones. Anyway, again, you're spared from the shaker for this one. So, we're going to put it in, this would be generally called a highball glass. It's a taller glass. Actually, this is a pint glass, but I'm a poor university student who has no money, so this is what we're using. Generally, you want it to be in a highball glass, which would be flat on all the same sides, all the same width. Pint glasses have a bit of this curve, which usually is used for the foam. But there is going to be some foam included in this drink because the gun has to be left alone and then suddenly go off. So, the first part of this drink is very simple. Chekhov is Russian, so we're going to start this with some vodka. Now, unlike the stereotypical Russian, we're only going to have 1 ounce in this because there's going to be more alcohol coming later. So, again, merge out your 1 ounce or maybe 1 ounce and a bit. Pour them out. And next, we're going to do something relatively simple. We're going to add some club soda. And that'll give a nice fizz to the drink. It's generally better if it's cold. I did not have time to put this in the fridge, so hopefully it doesn't explode. And here's the tip you probably know from pouring soda, but you should also know for pouring anything fizzy and alcoholic so you don't waste any of the alcohol, like champagne. Tip the glass to the side and pour. Then you lose less to the carbonation. So we're gonna fill this up most of the way. And the carbonation there should mix it a little bit so we don't have to worry too much about bubbles. There's a bit left in here. If you want a really sad mojito, you can use it for that. Or you can just get an actual highball glass and it should probably fill it all the way up. Now, the next part is generally, if you're someone who's classy and has money to afford these kinds of things, you would want to have a cool, clear shot glass that you wouldn't really mind if it broke. I'm not that person. All my shot glasses are novelty, as evident by this guy, and I don't want to lose them. So this is going to be our I'll be right back. So, turns out my hope of a fake clear shot glass is not going to work. So instead I get to air my shame with one of my lovely novelty shot glasses. In this case, it's Deadpool's abs. Now, this is a lovely ceramic glass, and I hope I don't break it doing this experiment. So, the plan is, you fill up a shot of any kind of red raspberry liqueur. I'm using Sourpuss because that's all we have. I usually try not to use the classic university or really high school liquors, but it's all I could find. So, you fill that up. So, generally this is going to be a drop shot. So what you do is you take this and you literally drop it in here. But this is Chekhov's gun, and it'd be no fun if it happened right away. So we're just gonna wait. So our final drink of the classics for this episode is where the idea for this series came from. It's gonna be a good old Hemingway. Now, there's a lot of debate around Hemingway. Some say he loved daiquiris. There's the whole Hemingway daiquiris, there's mojitos. But here's the truth. As an author, mixing drinks takes a lot of time. And sometimes I don't think even Hemingway had that time. So here's the easiest and fastest drink that we can make in the spirit of Hemingway. Take a glass, a rocks glass. This is the closest I have. Generally they're short, round. They're the kind that you put those really fancy ice cubes in, the ones that are round or shaped like the Death Star. And then the next step, take some good old tequila. And we pour until the trauma of the Spanish War goes away. But we can still probably see the page in front of us. This is an expensive joke. And there you have it, the classic cocktails of writing. And my recommendation, if you don't want your workspace to smell like tequila forever, which this now will, if you want to make the Hemingway, just drink from the bottle. You're gonna waste less. So, that's our first episode of From the Writing Desk. I hope you all enjoyed, and now, if you excuse me, I have some children to traumatize in my next novel. Just like good old Cormac McCarthy traumatized me. Okay. Please don't break, and please don't spill so this room smells even more like alcohol. I've never done a drop shot before. Chekhov's gun!